Stage. Hi guys, how are you? So welcome to officially my first live on YouTube on this channel. This was supposed to be on LinkedIn, but I thought, why not? Since I'm alone, we have the discussion here. So I basically want to talk about a topic that is very broad, but again, it can also be very specific to women, and that is basically how blood sugars actually influence women's productivity, libido, mood, fertility, and just everything. So this basically will be an introduction to the wellness Wednesdays. I know today is Thursday, but yesterday it was almost impossible to go live, but we'll be doing that on Wednesdays, where I'll be sharing either a video, a pre-recorded one, or I'll be coming in live to talk about how to improve women's health and life. So why did I choose this topic? First, we need to understand that diabetes is rising sharply among women globally. And it's a fact that women experience unique metabolic and hormonal consequences that, yes, they are discussed outside there, but we have normalized suffering in women such that when a woman is struggling with menstrual pain, when a woman is struggling with low libido, she will not feel confident enough to talk about it. And then this actually slows down the ability or the impossibilities of actually finding a solution. And that is why we are having this conversation. In Kenya alone, the prevalence of diabetes is roughly about 3.3. But of course, we have pre-diabetes and insulin resistance being highly undiagnosed in this country. Because, again, as I've said, we have normalized things like in Kenya, we have normalized that it's okay for a woman to have a big stomach and she's not pregnant. We have normalized that it's okay for a woman to have irregular periods, that we have normalized it's okay for a woman to suffer. So we need to and normalize such things because it's not really necessary. So, excuse me, poor blood sugar controls and affects more than weight. You know, when you're thinking about blood sugars in women, a good number will just think about, oh, I'm going to have a pot belly. There are those women who don't want to have a pot belly. We have this current trend in Kenya currently where everyone is using the GLPs and they are doing liposuctions where they're removing fat. But I believe without the dietary adjustments to actually make sure that your hormones, your endocrine systems, your digestion, your gut health, and your brain is actually functioning well, sustainability of even such drastic changes will not be possible. Of course, you can see them even 12 months from now with the same results or even the same good results, but unless they actually change their habits, sustaining it long time will be a problem. So as I've said, poor blood sugars affect more than weight. We actually have it affecting mood. I know if you're a lady, you can confirm to the fact that one day you wake up, you are exciting, you are happy, you are receptive, and the other day things go south and it's normal. And then we also have focus. Of course, if you have sugar spikes and energy dips, you're going to have limited focus, you're going to be less productive, you're going to not want to do things, you're going to just be lazy. And then, of course, the aspect of energy comes in, hormones and menstrual cycles and such. And of course, we also have fertility and overall sexual health. So allow me to pick a call, just a minute. I don't know how to mute this. Just a minute, a minute, a minute. Sorry about that. I was having a small conversation. Sorry for the distractions. So now, as I was telling you, the impact of blood sugar in women health, and I want you to feel free to share that, whatever, or to share in the comment section. If your energy keeps crashing, if you have severe mood swings, or your libido is missing, this is a safe space because we are going to talk about solution. And as I have promised, over the next several weeks, we are going to have this because this is a live. I don't need to edit. I always time myself to doing things, and then I find editing a bit challenging. But with lives, I don't have to edit, so I can come here. We talk about it every Wednesday, or basically every Wednesday, because we want it to be about women. So I'll definitely be committed to that. So let's understand why it's important for us to control blood sugar for women, because when you eat, glucose enters your bloodstream. Remember that, most of us, we have seen these trends on TikTok, we have seen trends on socials where women are being told to avoid carbs, they're being told to avoid anything that has energy and anything that translates to glucose into their system. But the fact is, we also have protein that cause delayed release of glucose, and we have other uh, energy fats, or other food groups, like maybe fats and fibers, that also have a direct impact on your blood sugars. So when you're thinking about blood sugar control in women, we need to think about holistic management and why it's important. And it's also very important to understand the role of insulin, the hormone, that actually helps you move glucose from your bloodstream to your cells for energy. And when insulin does not work properly, that is when we get insulin resistance. And this actually leads to high circulating insulin. And insulin is known as the fat storage hormone. So you're going to experience a lot of fat storages. You're going to have mid waist, like the stomach is going to be big. You're going to have puffy face. You're going to have big hands, and you're not pregnant, you're not breastfeeding. You're going to experience all this, and you're also going to have chronic fatigue, like umechoka 24/7. And there's also going to be the risk of hormonal imbalances. Actually, insulin resistance is one of the leading causes of hormonal imbalances, including polycystic ovarian syndromes, that is quite common for women as well. So women are more vulnerable to insulin resistance due to the fact that we experience more severe hormonal fluctuations because of our menses and because of our cycles. And then, of course, if you are at risk, or if you have PCOS, you're definitely at a higher risk of developing insulin resistance. If you have reached menopause or perimenopause, that is basically between 35 to 50. If you've gotten periods there, and then menopause maybe from 45 and going onwards, then of course you are at a higher risk of developing insulin resistance. And women, we carry the burden of the society, taking care of the family and all that. And on top of that, we are still expected, of course, to be providers, because the modern woman is both a nurturer and a provider, which is quite sad. And this increases the stress and comes in with the sleep disruption that actually propagate insulin resistance. And of course, we are the ones who get pregnant. So when you're pregnant, and you have fluctuations in your blood sugars, you have a lot of weight gain, you have poor dietary practices, then you are at risk, or you can develop gestational diabetes. As I was having a conversation yesterday about the same, we say that 1 in every 7 women who are actually pregnant are at risk of developing gestational diabetes. So, and this is, of course, a risk factor to developing type 2 diabetes and other blood sugar control issues, like maybe insulin resistance, PCOS, and the rest. So, when you are pregnant, it is very important for you to make sure that you optimize your nutrition, your lifestyle, to ensure that you're protecting yourself from such changes. Because unfortunately, in Kenya, where we are, nutrition education, nutrition interventions during pregnancies are only done after the problem comes in. We are not proactive when it comes to preventable conditions like gestational diabetes, hypertensive, related disorders in pregnancies. We only do the reactiveness after they have been diagnosed with it. What next? This is the problem. This is one of the biggest problem that we have in our system, because when we are just reactive, we are going to now predispose the woman to the risks that are associated with these conditions, because now you're managing the condition, you're not preventing it, to ensure that the baby and the woman do not get this problem. So we need to change our system. That is why we advocate for the full integration, not integration on paper, full integration of nutrition in health facilities or in healthcare in Kenya, and not just the curative aspect. We want nutritionists to be at the community level. We want nutritionists to be at the ANC clinics, the MCH. We want nutritionists to be even working together with our community health promoters, so that they can be guiding, they can be assessing, and they can be screening and diagnosing, including referring on time before we get to the problems. As well, we don't have to wait until we get into the aspect of referral. We can be teaching before we even get to that. So we prevent the occurrences kabisa, and this will actually save us on a lot of money as a country. And the money that is used on curative, or the high expenditures on curative, can definitely be reduced, and we can have a chunk that is going to other developmental issues, like maybe ensuring that our children in school are getting proper meals. That is another aspect that we are missing when it comes to proactive or preventive care. So let's talk about how blood sugars affect productivity. We're going to have this short one because I am talking alone and I don't want to be so boring. But if you come across it, please listen and share your concerns in the comment section, share your comments, and let's continue the conversation. As I have told you, I'll be having pre-recorded sessions for Wednesdays, or I'll be coming in live. I need to be serious about it. I have written even I'm writing like what I'll be talking about here as I talk, so that now when I come in, we have something that is flowing. I'll also be trying to come in with guests and co-moderators or co-speakers, so that we can make sure this is as inclusive and as holistic as it can be, so that we can try and help our women. And of course, I am promising to improve on my audio by next Wednesday. Things have crashed over here, but by Wednesday we'll have them fixed, so my mic will be okay. So we'll do better. This is just the first, and when you're starting, perfectionism is not your goal. So bear with me. So let's talk about how blood sugars affect productivity. My tea is almost cold. So we have the first thing, energy, that you'll feel almost instantly. When you have blood sugar spikes and crashes, that comes from poor nutrition. Poor nutrition is overconsumption of highly refined foods, like asubuhi umekula mkate na chai with loaded sugars, and then after one sugar zikapanda ukaget some kidogo energy here and there, then after 1 hour or 2 hours you're feeling really low, you really need to eat, then you are experiencing the crashes, because your body has gone through a phase of high spikes with low crashes. The brain experiences energy instability, and this actually leads to fatigue, difficulty concentrating, brain fog, and feeling sleepy after meals. Like when you eat your meals, and you know, I hear the French actually have a lunch break for siesta, where after eating, the French don't have breakfast. They have maybe drinks for breakfast, and then this is something that I was told. I'm yet to experience it. I'm looking forward to actually experiencing it myself. So after lunch, they have a very heavy lunch. Then they're given like a 2 hour siesta to sleep. And then after, maybe they go back to work at 4, and then they continue with work until around 9 or 10, because maybe but the foods, again, the foods that the French actually eat are actually very nutritious. They have a very healthy culture, I would say, but maybe the patterns might not work for everyone. But yeah, but you see where we are in Kenya now, the crashes and the spikes are something that is very common, and with continuous energy spikes and crashes, you're going to actually experience insulin insensitivity or resistance. And then you're going to continue with the cycle and have all these conditions that we have talked about. We also have poor cognitive performance with uncontrolled blood sugars, where you can actually have issues with your memory, you can have issues with learning, as I've said, concentration, and of course, focus and decision making. This definitely impairs your productivity. You become more forgetful, you become like procrastination, you don't have the energy, you don't have the creativity. Like if you're doing something like creative or content creation, you cannot maintain your creativity or your schedules because all this, like it's not good, because fluctuations in your blood sugars actually interrupt your performance. Remember that the brain uses glucose as its primary fuel. We're going to have a conversation on macronutrients and blood sugar control in the near future. Of course, I'm not focusing this on diabetes only, but again, I want us to be able to be holistic women, to be functional, to be productive, to be energy driven, and all that. So we're definitely going to focus on blood sugars because it is central to most of our functionality as humans. So that is where we are maybe focusing on it. And of course, there's also the aspect of hormonal imbalances. Uh, Not really, not really. Let's talk about emotional regulations. Yeah, emotional regulation, where we have blood sugar instability causing you a lot of cortisol spikes, mood swings, and of course, you're going to have irritability. You're going to be anxious. You're going to be less motivated. You're going to have all those issues that are associated with. And then you'll find yourself maybe about their reduced sexual drive, they don't have libido, they're so dry, they don't want their husbands near. And of course, most of them are not willing to talk about it publicly. And that is why, as healthcare professionals or even as dietitians, if you come across such, it is important that we create awareness about how this affects women. For the males, of course, for the woman, I usually say a woman can actually get away with low libido very, very fast. It's very easy for a woman to get away with low libido, especially if you can get access to lubricants. And but for a man, if you cannot erect, you cannot maintain an erection. It is visible, it is physical, it cannot be hidden, but women can actually get away with this. But you see, there's that emotional burden of engaging in maybe sexual activity and you're not up to it. It's going to affect or interfere with your mind and all that. That is why it is important for us to fix it. I know someone will think about, oh, why don't we just use libido and forget about it? No, the modern woman, the current woman needs to be protected. We are not in the Stone Age, where the woman was just moving with the flow and making sure that the man is happy. Also, the woman needs to be happy, the woman needs to be protected. And that is why we need to have this conversation. So, of course, let's talk about how blood sugar affects libido and sexual health. Of course, we have the first one is, of course, blood flow down there and nerve functions. So remember, one of the complications or one of the issues that comes from persistent and controlled blood sugars usually damages to the small blood vessels and nerves, which what we call neuropathy. And neuropathy actually interferes with blood flow. And it is very important for you to have blood flowing when you are aroused, and because it actually now promotes with lubrication, it promotes with arousal, it makes the dryness problem that we have, it actually makes it go away. And when you have all these problems, like now you're not getting dry, you're not being aroused sexually, you're going to hate the need or the actual act of sexual activity. And of course, with the decreased vaginal lubrication, you're going to maybe experience a lot of tears. You can experience sexual pain during sexual intercourse, and this can cause a lot of wounds, which can cause a lot of infection, and you're definitely not going to have orgasms if you are forcing it. It's not a possibility. So, of course, you are going to have a poor sexual life. And remember, when you talk about holistic living, we also talk about the importance of sexual health. Like, you need to be enjoying your life as a woman, you need to be enjoying your life in that aspect, even as men. But you see, for that, if for you, if you are actually experiencing all these problems, then it's going to be impossible. We also have the aspect of hormonal imbalance that I have talked about, where we have insulin resistance actually increasing androgens, and this actually affects regular cycles. You can bleed for too long, and you can have unplanned bleeding here and there, and this actually brings about interferences maybe in your sexual activity, and also maybe if you want to reproduce and such. You also have PMS, that is very common with hormonal imbalances, or women with PCOS. Of course, dryness and all this impact sexual drive. You see how we are going to have a lot of conversation. Of course, we can have a whole video on how blood sugars affect how blood sugars affect libido and sexual health in women. We can also have another one for males, but because I'm a woman and mine is, I decided to focus on women, we talk about women as much. So that is definitely a conversation that you're going to have. And then, of course, we have the other one whereby we have emotional and mental factors. Yeah, it's not so far gone. So chronic high blood sugars increases depression risk, anxiety, poor body image, because you'll gain weight in the places that you don't want. For women, we want to gain weight in our bums, our hips, and maybe our boobs. But you see now, when your weight starts coming up in your arms, it comes up with too much on your thighs, on your legs, or even on your stomach, and you're not pregnant or breastfeeding, then it becomes a problem. So chronic high blood pressure increases depression risk, anxiety, poor body image, and low confidence. And of course, when you have all that, you're going to have low moods, and then you're going to have low libido, or even lack of sexual desires. When you're not confident as a woman, I know people say that kujikubali ni rahisi. It's not as easy as it seems. Even people who are even selling the idea that they've accepted that their bodies the way they are, we have seen them over time actually go through this this weight management or weight controls surgeries and such. I will not be mentioning names, but if you're in Kenya, you know that one who used to say she used to call herself big black woman, and BBL, big, I think big black and beautiful or something, I don't know. But now she is out there telling people about how they should know about the consequences of those waist procedures, because she has undergone several, from boobs, bum to waistline. So all that, and you can imagine now her confidence, because she feels better, she can show up better, she's definitely going to have better orgasms. So all this is a problem. Of course, you also have the aspect of fatigue. Remember, I've said that with the crashes and the spikes, you're going to have an uncontrolled or uncertainty when it comes to energy release, and then you're going to have a lot of fatigue. And then if you're tired, you're not going to have the mood or the desire to actually engage in sexual activities. And all this combined actually increases stress. And when you're stressed, of course, your libido dips. So we need to continue having the conversation on how blood sugars actually affect our performances, not just on productivity, because we have highlighted so much, because we think about productivity as just the ability to produce or to meet KPIs. Of course, that is what is productivity in the workplace. But for you to be productive continuously, to ensure that your boss, that is where we promote corporate wellness. And at Mumina Wellness, we do that a lot. I had engagements with various corporates, and I would like to work with you on that as well. If you are in human resource and you're looking for ways to improve, not just women, to improve your overall staffing, productivity, and such, talk to us and let's talk about our wellness package for our corporates, and then you're going to actually improve productivity. So let's talk about fertility as the last thing, and how this, but I will not go deep into this because I think no have not conversed here, but I have had a conversation on the same on my LinkedIn live. Remember, I said that I'm going to be having simultaneous LinkedIn and YouTube lives, but I want YouTube to be specific where like I have a video on Wednesday. May God of editing please visit me so that I can be proactive when it comes to editing, because I have a lot of recorded videos even currently. Like there's a video that I found yesterday that I recorded in 2023, and I'm going to upload it hopefully today. It will be live on Saturday so that I can start doing away, and I need space on my desktop because yeah, it's kind of full. So let's talk about how blood sugars affect women during menstrual cycles, PCOS, and fertility. We know that up to 70% of women with PCOS actually have insulin resistance, and I've talked about the risk factors of PCOS increasing to women who are experiencing insulin issues like resistance, insensitivities, and prediabetes. And this actually affects ovulation. We know if you're not ovulating, you're not going to be able to actually reproduce. Irregular cycles. We also have fertility changes. We also have hirsutism and acne, confidence, and of course we also have weight gain. Then of course when you have all these blood sugars issues, you're going to experience cramping, irritability, food cravings, emotional eating, water retention, mood swings, and all these affect your ability to all that. I hope you're together. So let's talk about, I don't want to get deep into that because I've told you I'm going to have a video on the same. So let's talk about practical sustainable strategies. I'll just be very specific so that you can actually have a book and you write them down and it will actually help you. When it comes to nutrition, of course, you are encouraged to eat meals with protein, fiber, healthy fats, and quality carbohydrates, and of course the quantities. Carbohydrates counting, especially if you're having issues with blood sugar control, you need to check on your carbs. It's very, very important to actually help you stabilize your blood sugars. And of course we avoid sugary beverages, refined carbohydrates. Like for breakfast, instead of having just um, plain bread, you can have bread, you can have a source of fat, you can have bananas or even eggs or even avocados, and then you don't do too much slices. It's not healthy, it's not good for you, it's not good for your sugars, it's not good for your productivity, it's also not good for your vaginal health. I think we'll also have a discussion on how blood sugar issues affect vaginal health. But this should be part of the libido. No, this is just libido and sexual health. Maybe you can be specific, like have a 6 minutes or 10 minutes video on the same. Yeah, we're going to have that. We talk about how when you're having a lot of highly refined foods that are going to release a lot of blood sugars or blood glucose in your blood, you can risk getting infections, the dryness, the irritability, the painful intercourse, and all that. So make sure that you subscribe for that. And then, of course, you need to avoid overconsumption. Just because I've said that you have your protein, fiber, and you have your healthy fats and quality carbohydrates, we are not going to overeat. I know with blood sugars, there's that cravings. Of course, you might be experiencing a lot of hormonal issues where hormonal regulation, food intake, kushiba na kusikia njaa, they are all hormonal mediated. So if you cannot control your hormones, that is basically the leptin and the ghrelins and the other like the other hormones that trigger, that is basically insulin, that trigger glucose release or the glucose supply in your blood, then you're going to have issues with actually telling your body that I am full, I have had enough. So you need to be disciplined as you work towards ensuring that there is regulations in your hormones. You need to be disciplined to avoid the overconsumption of foods. And of course, this is where now the plate model or the plate method comes in for portion control. When you're talking about portion control, you're not talking about restriction, you're talking about just eating enough to maintain and sustain your metabolic function, your digestion, reproductive health, and any other system that is in your system, that is in your body as well without overloading your body. And of course, another thing that is actually underrated, but I've seen a lot of women actually do it, and I like it, is adding apple cider vinegar or even lemon or even bitters to their meals or even before meals to actually improve insulin sensitivity and to reduce the glycemic index or the to actually have glycemic control, because acidic mediums, sorry about that, acidic mediums actually help us with improving insulin sensitivities. And when you're having your meals, we have your like your plate is served, we have your vegetables, we say in the portion control, whereby we have half of it being vegetables or fruits, healthy quality fruits, not the fruit juices that have been sieved, all the fibers and all the other goodness. And then of course we have the quarter part of it being protein, and then we have other protein and healthy fats, and also have healthy carbohydrates or healthy fats as well. The fats can just be there between the protein or the carbs, doesn't really matter, but just make sure that you do glucose friendly carbohydrates. That is very important. So when you're having your meals, if you have to remain or to bakisha anything in your plate, let it be at least the carbohydrate. So start with your vegetables, have your salad, have it with some maybe avocado to increase on availability of the nutrients, the fat soluble vitamin A, D, E, or even other to make it tastier. You can also add eggs here that will actually increase the protein, the fat content. Then when it comes to your protein, maybe you're having maybe meat or even the eggs, they can also be part of the protein. And then you can have the carbohydrates. Then when you're having your meals, it's very important for you to be in touch with your cues. Put your meals in the mouth or put your food in the mouth, chew slowly, let your body understand that there's something that is coming. Like right now, I'm having breakfast being prepared. So of course my body is already preparing to digest food because I can smell the food. And of course, now it's actually anticipating that the meal will be here in time. So when the meal comes, I should be able to now start eating gradually, to now tell the body, okay, the food is here. Now we are eating. We chew the body so the body can understand that masaa ya kukula imefika, and it can also be alert to know when it has taken enough. Your body knows when to stop and when not to. If you're not experiencing hormonal issues or if you're not pregnant, of course, if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, your body adjusts to make sure that you actually eat extra for the baby or for the breast milk. So these are some of the things that you cannot ignore. And I teach that and more in my sugar control coaching program. So I will leave my number in the description box after this. I don't know how to do that, but I think I can edit the description box because this is my first live on YouTube. So I'll definitely leave my number. If you are interested, we can talk about how we are going to actually help you control your blood sugars or even actually improve your life through nutrition. And of course, nutrition cannot work alone. You need to make sure that you support it with a lifestyle. We talked about the importance of sleep. Make sure that you sleep at least 7 to 9 hours to lower insulin resistance, to actually manage stress, and to even allow your body to reset. And of course, you also do physical exercise. There's that trend that was very popular last year. The popularity has gone down because the people who are actually propagating it have moved to another thing. Now we are in on gut health, which is okay, but we need to maintain such trends which are good. So try 20 to 30 minutes of movement after meals to reduce spikes. This has actually been shown to reduce spikes up to 30%. And of course, even during the day, you make sure that you maintain activity. We actually mistake the fact that when I tell you to be physically active, that you can sit for the 10 hours in a day and then just go to the gym for 30 minutes. It's a plus. It's better than someone who didn't even go to the gym for 30 to 60 minutes. But ideally, it's actually encouraged that you make it a habit and part of your lifestyle. You don't sit for more than 2 hours without standing or making a few steps here and there. So when you sit, you make sure that you're moving. It's very, very, very important. Please, and if you're struggling with maybe diabetes or PCOS or even pre-diabetes, you need to also work with a dietitian or a health professional for support. And as I've told you, at Mumina Wellness, we do that, and we'll be glad to onboard you as well. So let me ask you before I leave some few questions. Do you experience crashes after meals, or do you just want to sleep immediately after you've had your meals? Do you struggle with cravings or moods? You can let me know in the comment section, because those are some of the signs that you are having irregular or uncontrolled blood sugars. And have you recently noticed changes in your libido or your sexual desires or your cycles, or even productivity at work, and you cannot explain? Is your supervisor complaining that you're not alert? Is your boss complaining about you meeting your KPIs and such? So let's talk about that in the comment section, and I will be seeing you next week on Wednesday. I think that's it for today. We continue the conversation because this was our first one. Hi, Kuzo, how are you? Thank you for watching. Let me just reply. Then we'll see you next week on Wednesday. So, yeah, I will be seeing you next week on Wednesday. We continue with this conversation. If I will not be doing the live, I'll try. I'm going to change the location because I can't be doing the videos in the house and do the lives here as well. We have to do something different, and that is where effort comes in. So I'll see you next week on Wednesday. Bye.